still got a lot of shit to learn, I'll admit it. It's the dun, the dun, dun. I still got a lot of shit to learn, I'll admit it. Feeling like a digit in a system, just another.
What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Today's video is a little bit different, and today I wanted to go over what would make certain game modes better. And in this case, we are starting out with Be a Pro. Now, most of you may know that I actually love playing Be a GM. However, Be a Pro, there's not much to the game mode that really makes me like, okay, yes, I want to play this for extended periods of time. No, right? Every year, I probably play a Be a Pro mode one time. Not one sitting, but like one time through, to where I go about 5 years into it, get extremely bored, and then never play it again. So this is going to be kind of a short little, I guess, series where we're going to go over a few different game modes that I play most often and just kind of give some feedback on what we can improve in these game modes. So let's get right into it. I want to start on the main screen because I want to take you from start to finish of what a Be a Pro mode is. So we're starting right off with the creative player. Now, we're not going to, make this, an actual guy. We're not going to go too much into the details of what a Be a Pro actually is. So we're going to go with probably the two most common names I've ever heard of. Joe Smith. We're just going to be a center. Let's just keep 17. Let's just keep all of that. And let's just go with a random play-by-play name of Abbott. How about that? Okay, so no big deal here. Everything simple, basic, nothing really much to it. Now, here's the part where we start to get into how to improve. And you guys remember the previous screen where it basically had your first name, your last name, your position, your player type, your jersey number, and your play-by-play name. Okay, that's not a big deal. But if we go into this screen where it says details, you can still change all of these settings, or options, I should call them, on this screen. So that first screen is kind of useless when you can do it all on a later screen anyway. Now, once you get into the game mode, obviously you can't change any of this, but the fact that there's like two screens that basically do the same thing except for one's more detailed, kind of stupid. But either way, I'm not going to be too picky about things. I want to give what I would like and, what would be cool in general, but I'm not going to go into each individual, one of these things. But the appearances, all of this stuff, the only thing I would ever say about this stuff is to add more options, because the hairstyles, there's not really much to them. Like, there's a lot of them, but like there's 62 of them. But if you go to like other games that have Be a Pro modes or creative characters of any sort, there's a lot more to choose from. So the only thing I'd have to say about appearances and equipment and even goal celebrations is to just add more, create new ones. If you see something new and exciting or a different hairstyle, or, just add more. That's all I really have to say about, the customization options. So like I said, we're not going to change too much in this. We're just going to continue on into the actual mode. In this case, we are going to start the Memorial Cup just so they can get a little bit of a simulation in for the player and try to get first overall. But if not, that's okay too. So let's get right into the Memorial Cup and let's simulate the games. However, we do want to pick a team. So in this case, what I usually do is I go down to the Erie Otters because they are a pretty good team from what I've heard. Either that, I was going to pick Windsor. So we're actually going to, we're going to switch it up, because the last couple times I picked Erie, and the last couple times I've tried to record this video, we've picked Erie. We've gone first overall 2 times, and we've went to Toronto 2 times. So this case, let's change up a little bit. Let's go to Windsor and get into the team. So this part, just showing your stats. You can't change anything on this screen, so I don't really know why it shows you this. So it's kind of like a better system that it's more on the ice, results that help your stats, I believe, if you want to call it that. Instead of just, you get 100 skill points, let's change, shooting and skating up to 100 before everything else. Like, I don't know how I like that system, but either way, this screen is kind of pointless. So let's just keep with medium, I guess, so we get a few shifts. So, all right, let's just change this. I'm going to change the settings to what I usually have them as, and then we'll get right into the game mode. So now that we're on the main menu of the Be a Pro mode, you can see everything you kind of need. Your edit player, you can sim to each game or play the game, or the easier way is to probably go to your calendar. I do like that, so you can either do one or the other. The activity feed, so all the news, I guess, if you really care about that. But one thing I will, appreciate from Be a Pro mode is it tells you what lines you are playing on. Because back when I used to play Be a Pro in like 2012, I don't think it told you what lines you were playing on. So it was like, okay, you had to go through each individual line to see what, lines you were on. So this is cool. It finally tells you. So we're playing the first line, and I don't recognize like half of these people. But so there we are. We're first over into the first center here. And what I kind of don't like is the fact that we're 20 years old. Okay, so that's no big deal. But we're immediately a low AHL bottom six forward. Does that make sense to anyone? Like, we're the best person on this team, and we are a low AHL bottom six forward. So instantly, that's kind of stupid, because you look at any of these other guys, like, we're the same. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, my stats are so much better, and if we were to play the mode, we would do so much better. So that's why I just don't understand. So a player that went 11th overall to Ottawa last year, or 2 years ago, excuse me, is a medium top six forward at 18 years old at 66 overall. But to a player that, if we were to play this mode, could get 100 points in a season, we would still be a low AHL bottom six forward. Does that make sense? No. So that part just doesn't make sense to begin with. But either way, let's get on to the rest of this part. So then we can see our stats. Okay, then the normal stuff at the end. So either way, we're going to simulate these. I think it's 5 games if you win the Memorial Cup. We're going to simulate those games, and hopefully we win all of them so we can become the winners of the Memorial Cup. All right, we are now at the draft, and the funny thing is we actually lost in the Memorial Cup. So we lost the first game we played. So let's go back in the calendar and see what happened. So back in May here, we lost our first game to the Red Deer Rebels. Now, like I said, I did not play any of these games. I simulated every single one of them. So we lost the first one, we went to the second one, and then we lost to the Brandon Wheat Kings to eliminate us from the Memorial Cup. So either way, we're projected to go like 100th or something in the draft. But either way, let's get into the draft and see where we end up going. Now, here's the part I do not like. So it's starting a 2016 draft on the screen, and it says we have been drafted by. Now, this part's a little bit cool if you don't care about seeing the personal depth towards Be a Pro mode of any sort. But if just pretend we got drafted first overall, right? Or top 5 or top 10, right? A really good pick. Imagine us going up on stage, shaking hands with the commissioner, getting your hat, getting your jersey, seeing all of your team's, important people standing up there, your GMs, your coaches, your all those people. So looks like we got drafted 126th overall by Winnipeg. So like I said, there's no personal depth to the draft. Even getting drafted in, what would it be? The 5th round? So we got 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So yeah, it'd be in the 5th round. Okay, so obviously getting picked in a draft doesn't really mean much in the Be a Pro mode because most people play all their games. But, there's no personal depth to the draft. So even if we got drafted, like I said, in a really high pick, there's no point to that. I know that the commissioner isn't there for the entire draft, but I'm pretty sure he's there for the first 2 rounds or maybe 1 and a half. So why not add that to the game? Even if it's even if he doesn't want to be in the game, add a created guy, a randomly generated guy to stand up there, right? Or at least just show you on stage accepting a jersey and a hat, or just you on stage with a jersey and a hat, and not even anyone else. Just you on stage with your nameplate on the back so you could see your name, you see the team that drafted you, see the position and all that. So there's no personal depth to the draft. So it's like all these players in real life worked their butts off all their life to get to that draft and be drafted by the NHL team, and then they get nothing for it. They don't get that moment at the draft. So personally, I love the behind the scenes part. I love that personal depth to a Be a Pro mode, and the Be a Pro mode in NHL 17 is just lacking everything. And the thing I don't understand about the Be a Pro mode contract system is, first of all, you can sign, or the teams can sign you between June 25th and then after, till what is the trade deadline or something. But first of all, we are forced to sign this contract. We are forced. There's no, going back to junior, playing there and then going somewhere else as a free agent after, a certain amount of time. There's none of that. We have to sign this contract, and there's not even like we can request a trade during that screen, right? It's so pointless because a 3-year entry-level contract makes you stay with this team for 3 years. Now, unless there's a way I haven't found yet, you can't request a trade. You can't do that. So instantly, you're stuck with this team until 3 years after. And what if I don't want to be with Winnipeg? What if I absolutely hated Winnipeg? What if my favorite NHL team was the rival of Winnipeg? Then I'm forced to play with them. Now, you could, not play well, don't play your games, and be sent down to the AHL, but then you're still in the system, and it's just, there's nothing there. So now I'm going to throw some gameplay in the background because I just want to talk about, what's going on with the Be a Pro mode while it's on a blank screen. So I'd rather you guys watch some gameplay and enjoy it there. So first off, let's just start with a Be a Pro mode, what I would want for this mode. And let's just start right off. So like I said before, if you could score 100 points a year, right? That's amazing. Be in the NHL at 70 overall and put up 100 points. That'd be amazing. You'd be along the lines of Crosby, McDavid, Ovechkin, Stamkos, all those guys, all those superstar guys. Yet you'd still be a 72 overall by the end of the year. There's no matter how good you put up that first year, you're not going to grow as a player. So the whole system that they put in place over, the better you do on the ice and the better, shot you have, the better shooting you have kind of thing is interesting, but it's not enough. Now, I'm not saying for every shot you should increase 0.25 on your shooting or some stupid thing like that. I just mean they need to have a better system. I don't know what that is. I don't have an idea for that, but they need to have a better system to where if you do better during the year, the better or the more you grow during that year. This is also going along the lines of when you have those, let's just keep using 100 points as a marker. So pretend you have 100 points going throughout the year. So let's just say you're sitting at 60, right? And you're still working that way to those 100 points. You could be demoted lines when you're leading the league in scoring. Now, I understand having a bad game, maybe only putting up 1 point in a couple games and going through a little bit of a slump or something like that, right? That's understandable. So when they threaten to send you down to the AHL when you're leading the NHL in scoring, then that's how realistic is that? Like that's ridiculous. Now, not only is that ridiculous in the fact that, okay, you're doing well in the NHL, maybe you just had a couple of bad games, you had a week of bad games or something like that. Imagine you being demoted to the AHL when you're dominating the NHL. That just does not make sense. Now, this isn't, the first 10 games of a entry-level contract to where you could be sent down to the AHL, or not to the AHL, to the juniors or wherever you came from. That's not like that, where some NHL teams, would rather have that person play in the juniors rather than keep them up in the NHL and play them on like a third or fourth line where they deserve better, but they're not ready for it yet kind of thing. Like it's not realistic at all. So where, however many stats you can put up during the year or however many goals or assists or, you could be a good defensive player or whatever the case, right? No matter what, that does not affect how you are put in the lines, right? So that just doesn't make sense. Also, after, you put up those 100 points in that year and you get demoted back down to the third line, you go into the offseason, pretend your contract's up, right? There's no contract negotiations, right? There's just, this is what we're offering you. If you have any other teams interested in you, then here's what they're offering. And that's that, right? It just, your agent pops up, right? There's no personal depth to the contract negotiations. So when you're signing your entry-level contract, why not go into your GM's office? Maybe have it random for different teams. to where it's random, where you walk into your general manager's office, sit down, the guy hands you a contract, you say accept, sign, or decline, not yet, or a third option, trade me. Like, imagine that, because in like NBA, I think it was like 2K12 or 2K14 or something like that, you could go into your general manager's office, your coach's office, I think, like anytime you wanted, and say, hey, I'm not getting enough playing time. Hey, this guy's holding me back. I'm not getting, enough time on the court to, whatever. I want sponsorships. There's no personal thing there. At least you could go in there and have a conversation with your general manager at a desk. And there's a cutscene to it. There's not, here's just one blank screen with no realistic edge to it. Like, if I was to play any Be a Pro mode out of all like the 4 major sports games, I couldn't even tell you which one I'd pick, because there is no personal depth to NHL 17. I'm not a big fan of football anymore. I don't really follow or care about basketball. And overall, baseball is a great game. I grew up playing baseball. I loved baseball. But ever since I haven't been able to play it on a consistent basis, I haven't really kept up with the real MLB, to where I haven't really cared about them. So I'll check scores once in a while, check standings, see who's doing well. But I won't follow and be like, oh, this guy got called up. That's going to help this team in this way, like I do with hockey, right? Like, there's no personal edge there to where I'd be like, oh yeah, this Be a Pro mode is amazing, to where I'd recommend all of my friends to play it. Not the case. So now let's fast forward down the road a little bit. Say the team that drafted you absolutely love being with, and you get to just say about 5 years down the road, and they say, hey, we want to make you a captain of an assistant, or the main captain, whichever. You get the C or the A, you're the face of that franchise, right? You, in current NHL 17, you don't even know if you're a captain or not. Like, there's no screen to where, you could look at your jersey numbers, look at your team, and, see anything. So let's cut back to the Be a Pro mode real quick. So now we are sitting at the main screen, right? And let's just go to view lines, to where it tells you what lines you're on. So that's amazing, right? So we're a third line center right now. Now, I believe that Blake Wheeler is their captain, if I'm not mistaken. And if I didn't know that, just out of my knowledge of hockey, it doesn't tell me anywhere, right? You can see his contract, you see his sign, where he's from, his waiver eligibility, his years left, contract type, all this stuff. You see all of his stats, you see all his rolled in, whatever. Imagine that right to the right of his face, right on the screen, it says captain, or somewhere along all the white part of that screen, it said captain. Or if it was, I think it's Mark Scheifele has an assistant captain, if I'm not mistaken. Imagine next to him has a little assistant captain, or an A. Imagine if that has, I don't know who any of their other captains are. I think Dustin Byfuglien maybe have one, but imagine an A next to his name. So at least you can see who the captains are. Or even put it at the bottom of the screen, to where under the 4th line, you see a little like gray space, or even in the white underneath that. There's plenty of space to put something, right? Put captains, and then put, who your captain is, who your assistant captain is, put your second assistant captain is. Or if your team has 3 assistant captains or 4 assistant captains, then put that down there, right? You can't tell. So if you just say, if I was Mark Scheifele and I was one of the faces of the franchise, and I was a really good player, I wouldn't know if I was captain. So you have to be in the game in order to tell if you're captain. You have to go into replay, or see it on a replay, or, whatever the case, to see if you're a captain. Like, there's no cutscene, there's no press conference, there's no, anything to where a coach brings you into his office and be like, hey, you're the captain, this is what I expect from you, lead a team to success. Or, even if there was like a 5-second cutscene or a 10-second cutscene of NHL 17 actually putting effort into this game, of, having even just a user, or not even a user, having a creative guy walk up to you as your assistant coach. They're like, hey, the coach wants to talk to you in his office now. And then, you have the cutscene of you walking back to the office with your assistant coach. And then you walk in there and be like, hey, he has a jersey in his hand. He hands it to you and says, hey, put this on. We got a press conference or something. And right? or here's your new jersey, or something like that, right? To where, you know, you look at your jersey, you see the C on it, or you see an A on it, and say, hey, you're a leader in this locker room. You know, having something there, right? It doesn't have to be super in depth, just something to where you know you're a captain now, or even on this screen, right? The main screen of the Be a Pro mode, to where your player says, you know, 71 playmaker. Imagine if you could see your jersey, right? I hate that. There's no personal depth to this game. Now, the next thing is, imagine we get past the preseason, we make the team, and, you know, we become an all-star, right? The AllStar Game in this year is January 29th, right? Now, I don't expect for them to put in the skills competition and, you know, make all that. I'm not expecting that, but at least let us play in the AllStar Game. Like, if you were eligible for the AllStar Game and you were good enough for the AllStar Game and you got voted into the game, then be able to play in that game, right? Change up the thing every year, right? So I think it's in Tampa Bay next year, right? So NHL 18, make the AllStar Game in Tampa Bay, make it their arena, make special jerseys of a random variety, or make last year's jerseys the jerseys you wear, and be in the AllStar Game. Play with all of the guys that are on the top of the league with you, right? And don't have guys like John Scott that are there. So add the AllStar Game in, right? It says it. The AllStar Game's there. You can play with the jersey instead of HUT and off the you know in every other game mode, but be a pro mode and be a GM mode. In all the personal game modes, there's the least amount of personal things. Now, not only am I a person that loves, you know, behind the scenes parts of pretty much everything, but especially with sports, you know, there's like series like Behind the B, where, you know, there's a behind the scenes of the Boston Bruins. I think it's called In the Room or something like that with the Penguins. And there's probably more, but I don't remember. Actually, Oil Change for the Edmonton Oilers. Like, there's those types of series that I absolutely love watching. I love seeing behind the scenes about things. Like when trades go down, especially like big trades go down, I want to see the GM talking to the other GM about, hey, I'm shopping this guy. What can you give me? Or, you know, I'm interested in giving up this. If you can, you know, I want to see that, right? I just don't want to see it. Hey, I want to see a rumor on ESPN or see a rumor on some random website saying, hey, this guy might get traded. And then within like 5 hours, that guy's traded and the deal's done. It's like, no, show that in the series. And that's what I want for Be a Pro mode. I want to see the behind the scenes, right? You're making your NHL debut, right? There's no personal depth to it. You get like a little tiny 3-second thing, you know, like, hey, this guy's playing his first ever game. But on the other side, you know, the star player has 5 points in his last 6 games. And, you know, like, you get 3 seconds, basically, or 5 seconds of you skating in a circle with no one else around you, and then that's it. Like, that's the most amount of depth to this Be a Pro mode other than just basic games. And that's sad. For being a Be a Pro mode, you're not being a pro. You're being a created player. And that's stupid. Like, if you wanted to create your player and play in any game you wanted to, like, you could just create a player and then draft him. Like, it's the same thing. I don't know, guys. There's a lot of things that I want to be added to a Be a Pro mode and to be a GM and, you know, HUD and competitive seasons and EASHL and, you know, all the game modes I play. And a lot of things are never going to be added to the game because EA just doesn't care. And they'd answer back with, oh, yes, we care. You know, tell us what you think. But then they don't do anything with it. They say, oh, we'll send it to the developers, and they don't care. So all these guys in the Game Changer program or whatever it's called, what are they changing about the game to make it better? That's what I don't know. Instead of getting their name on the HUD screen of, you know, look at this community team of the week guy, or try to play this guy to win something, right? It's like, no, you're helping the guys that are already at the top stay at the top. You're not helping anyone else. So on that note, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you guys did enjoy it, hit the like button. Let me know what you guys think about, you know, the Be a Pro mode in general. What would you guys add to it? You know, I've said a lot of things in the video. You know, do you like some of my things? If some of my things are close to what you want, but you change a little bit, let me know it in the comment section below. And, you know, we'll have a conversation down there. I'll be willing to talk to you guys. So if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. And if you haven't already, turn on notifications to let you know when I upload new videos. On that note, guys, I'll see you next time.
Jumping off the porch like mom's not home. Just a couple kids living on our own. Summer nights, love them how they take so long.